Harry sat down with Hoda Kotb to talk about his meeting with the Queen and the possibility of coming to the UK for the Jubilee celebrations. And as usual, his body language revealed much more than he wanted to, including how he really feels towards the Queen, and a very disturbing remark about Diana and William that you're about to find out. Welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and it would be great if you join us by just liking this video, subscribing, and hitting that bell. Let's get down to it. Harry is still goofing around at the Invictus Games, making sure to create enough content for Netflix. It's a good thing that he has been walking more confident lately, more relaxed. I'm sure it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that Meghan already flew back to Montecito. By the way, it's so strange when Hoda asks him the question of how he feels about the US being his home. Let's warm up your engines with this one.
And you know, home for me now is you know, for the time being, it's in the States, and it feels that way as well. And you know, home for me now is you know, for the time being, it's in the States. And it feels that way as well.
I mean, Harry is usually insecure when he's talking, and it hugely depends on the subject. It's obvious that the topic of home is something that makes him really nervous, because there's this heavy stuttering and that look of sadness on his face, like he's not that convinced, much less happy of calling the States his home. If you're enjoying your new life, if you are proud of your decision, you will have a different attitude. You will make sure that people feel that energy. And one good example is how Harry talked 6 years ago in the same circumstances, much more confident and no stuttering. Now, notice that he tries to emphasize his answer, like try to convince us. Pay attention to his body language this time.
Does it?
Yeah, we've been welcomed with open arms, and it's got such a great community up in Santa Barbara. So
you feel like that's home more for you?
Yeah.
It's not only the huge pacifying gesture when he slides both his hands along his legs, but the lack of conviction when Hoda repeats the question if the States is more like home for him. I'm sure Harry wants to project an image of no regrets, but so far his body language has been revealing a different story. And it gets much worse when we get to the topic of his visit to the Queen.
You saw your grandmother. How was that?
It was great. It was really nice to see her. Be able to see her in some element of privacy was nice. It was great. It was really nice to see her. Be able to see her in some element of privacy was nice. I hadn't had a chance to go back to the UK.
His first reaction to the question is looking away. That gesture in itself doesn't have a direct meaning, but it's important to notice that for some topics he has no problem in keeping eye contact, but when this question arises, he looks away. At the same time, it's unsettling that when he says that he could see her in some element of privacy, he shows this duping delight. It is not a smile, but a contempt half smile with very odd timing that it's a gesture often displayed by someone who finds pleasure in manipulating others. I think that in this case, the word privacy brings him pleasure by the fact that other members of the royal family, most precisely William, were not around when he was there. And talking about William, we're about to see how Harry distanced himself from his brother. But first, let's do a very interesting body language exercise. You're gonna watch Harry talking about his grandmother. But the best way to approach this clip is to not pay attention to his words, but focus on his body and his head. This is something that you will have to do in real life, like not listening to people's voice, but isolating their body language. Time to shine.
Being back? Being with her?
Being with her, it was great. It was just so nice to see her. You know, she's on great form. She's always got a great sense of humour with me, and I'm just making sure that she's, you know, protected and got the right people around her.
Okay, hold up. Because this clip was body language gold on so many levels, and there's a good reason why whoever edited this put that picture of the Queen so we couldn't fully see this train wreck of a reaction. First, I told you to pay attention to his body and attitude because he's talking about such great time with his grandmother, but it really looks like he can't be bothered. And to prove my point, a very simple question. Harry, we ran out of chocolate ice cream. Would you mind having hazelnut instead?
Yeah, I'll
have the hazelnut, whatever. Yeah, it's like he didn't care much about seeing his grandmother. He tries to say that it was a great moment, but there is no energy or emotion in his words. And what's more, it's interesting that he makes the remark, she's always got a great sense of humor, with me. That "with me" doesn't add anything to the statement that the Queen has a great sense of humor. That "with me" is claiming exclusivity, like she has fun with me, but not with the rest of the family. Those words are very important. This is a way of trying to reinforce that he's still relevant in the royal family. And that's why this is followed by the outrageous claims that he makes sure that she's protected and with the right people around. Maybe he thinks of himself like he's some sort of, I don't know, 007 or just 00 for that matter. Yeah, it's the most hypocritical claim of all, given that apparently he couldn't protect his own wife, but he can make sure that the Queen is protected. And those remarks of having the right people around, you can be sure that was an intentional burn at Charles and William, who obviously are the ones that are most concerned with her safety, being actually close to her. So Meghan must be really proud because the boy is learning how to make waves in the media all by himself. How cute. And speaking of Meghan, notice his body language when he mentions her at that meeting.
You make her laugh, that's what she always says. Did you do it again?
Yes, yeah, I did. Both Meghan and I had tea with her, so it was really nice to catch up with her.
Did you do it again?
Yes, yeah, I did. Both Meghan and I had tea with her, so it was really nice to catch up with her.
Wait. That answer doesn't make sense. It's important to notice when you ask a question and the person answers something completely unrelated, if they change the topic on the spot. Unless the Queen, well, finds Meghan funny? Is that a possibility? Well, maybe the Queen spotted Nutmeg painting the Ukraine flag upside down, so I guess the answer is yes. So you see that Henry is trying to control the narrative that he is the cool grandson, that he's the one in charge, and of course, the second greatest royal of all time. The first one being Meghan, of course. But what happens when Hoda asks about them attending the Jubilee celebrations?
Do you think he'll come?
I don't know yet. There's lots of things with security issues and everything else. So this is what I'm trying to do, trying to make it possible that, you know, I can get my kids to meet her. This is what I'm trying to do, trying to make it possible that, you know, I can get my kids to meet her.
There it is. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen, and you heard it first here from the body language guy. They are not coming to the Jubilee celebrations. Yeah, go ahead, breathe deeply in relief. But what they are going to do is to use this to manipulate public opinion. Like he said, I'm trying to make it possible so I can get my kids to meet her. I've said this a couple times. He would do well on Mexican soap operas. I already made a video that you can watch here that explains how Harry is using that narrative to manipulate the public opinion against the royal family. And he used this interview to double down on that. And if that was not enough, he says something about Diana and William that it's really easy to miss. Let's see if you can catch it.
It's almost as though she's done her bit with my brother, and now she's very much like helping me. He got him set up. Now she's helping me set up. He's got his kids. I've got my kids.
It's extremely odd that he talks about Diana in terms of she helped William to set up, and now she's helping him to set up. He feels that the image or the memory of his mother is effectively divided between them, and now it's his turn to get her help. This tells us two things. First, that he talks about his relationship with William like they are separated. That's why he talks about Diana taking turns to help them set up. And speaking of which, man, you're 37 years old and have 2 children, and instead of doing things to make her proud of you, you still expect her ghost to help you set up in life? Are you living in a Pixar movie? You know who would have helped you set up? Your family in the UK. But you really needed to burn that bridge to the ground, didn't you? One more thing.
My sort of mantra now every day is, because I need to make sure that I don't have burnout, but is trying to make the world a better place for my kids. Otherwise, what's the to make sure that I don't have burnout, to make sure that I don't have burnout, to make sure that I don't have burnout, but is trying to make the world a better place for my kids. Otherwise, what's the...
If you want to refine your observation skills, all you have to do is download my 100 body language tips right in the description of this video. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas, and it will always be a pleasure, my body language buddies, Much love and bliss.